After I went bankrupt, my boyfriend quickly broke up with me. It turned out that the man I had supported for 5 years was using the reputation I had built to pursue other wealthy girls. Later, he told me not to contact him anymore because his new girlfriend comes from a rich family, and he was afraid she would get jealous. Ultimately, he discovered that his new girlfriend actually referred to me as second aunt. When surrounded by 10 male models, I felt a renewed sense of vitality. The manager personally brought me the drinks and instructed the handsome young men to take good care of me, an important client. I was enjoying myself when suddenly a friend squeezed past a nearby male model and quietly asked me, "Are you really broken up with James Thompson?" Upon hearing this question, my enthusiasm immediately faded. I put down my glass with a loud clink. I didn't want to talk about him. I understood that my friends were concerned for me, but it wasn't the right moment. 3 years ago, when I took James Thompson out of this club, I never expected he would choose to leave me. His current education, wealth, and status are all achievements I helped him secure. However, now I am facing bankruptcy, while he is eagerly seeking new opportunities. What he doesn't know is that the company facing bankruptcy was just a practice for him. Just as I was finishing the asset liquidation and preparing to offer him the management of another company, he proposed a breakup. He said, "You are bankrupt now. I'll be straightforward, I've had enough of you over the years. I won't help you pay off your debts. What we had was just a transaction. I don't owe you anything. It seems you took the 3 years I spent with you as some kind of training, like you're leveling up your experience points." I agreed to break up and then called my girlfriends to go to a club. Tonight is the singles party. After wrapping things up with James Thompson, I haven't been to this club again. I just didn't want to see his gloomy face on the way home. Although it was endearing, I didn't want anyone to feel sad in our relationship. I'm not too obsessed, I simply enjoy every moment in each relationship. Although it's easy for me to adjust quickly, emotions always need an outlet. Unfortunately, a small amount of money has made me see through this man. My friends noticed my mood and immediately pushed 2 handsome guys over to me. They wanted to cheer up Sister Lily and even said they would get us a case of wine. Just as we were getting into the drinking spirit, my phone buzzed with several messages from concerned friends. I wanted to turn off the sound, but accidentally unlocked my phone with my face. It was a message from James Thompson. "Don't let your friends message me. I won't reply. We've ended things, so please don't contact me anymore. My new girlfriend comes from a wealthy family, and I'm worried she might be a little upset. It's so fast, we broke up this morning, and by tonight, he has a new girlfriend." My excitement was instantly extinguished, and I glanced over at my friend beside me, who had lowered her head. My mood soured. My sudden cold expression left the 2 male models next to me feeling awkward. They exchanged glances and stopped their movements. The 2 male models in front of the big screen were still dancing, but I no longer felt like smiling with satisfaction. I looked around and pointed to the most handsome male model. "Can you drive? Take me back." I ignored my friends who were suggesting finding a driver for me and waved my hand, asking the model to take me out. Do I really need a driver? I need companionship even more. The male model clumsily helped me into the passenger seat and fastened my seatbelt. He fumbled with the car door for a while until I lifted my head slightly and heard him say, "Sister, how do you close this door?" There was a hint of panic on his face, and his tone and smile seemed overly flattering. It reminded me of James Thompson, who once asked me how to close a car door that had flown open. "There's a button next to me. It's really cute." He finally fixed the car door, sat in the driver's seat, and began to fuel up. "Although I've never driven such an expensive car, I'll be careful, sis, don't worry." I responded lightly, a bit tipsy from the drink, and just pointed out the direction to him. The GPS navigation was set, and he was smart enough to drive directly to the villa entrance. As I got out of the car, I ran into someone I didn't want to see. James Thompson was leaning against the front of the car, looking at his phone, and when he looked up, our eyes met. He couldn't possibly be looking for me, could he? The model's hand tightened around my waist, and James Thompson spoke up before I could say anything. "My eyesight is getting worse and worse. What's wrong? Can't you find someone more suitable than me? I'm feeling a bit dizzy." I didn't want to argue with him, but he managed to provoke me. "James Thompson, how dare you come looking for me?" After hearing that, he let out a light laugh. "Don't be so self-righteous, I'm actually waiting for my girlfriend. Your villa is probably about to be sold to pay off debts, right? Why not enjoy a few more days? He then looked at the male model. Buddy, let me give you some advice. Her situation is really bad right now. She's out of money. If you're looking to pursue someone wealthy, it's better to choose a different target. When he said this, he was playing with the car keys in his hand. The car was a gift I had given him. The male model clicked his tongue in dissatisfaction, then confirmed that I could stand on my own before walking over to James Thompson. He was a head taller than James Thompson, and as he approached, his presence became even more imposing. He said, "You'd better speak respectfully." James Thompson wanted to retort, but seemed to notice something and waved his hand in the distance. "Baby!" I was just about to turn around to see who the rich young lady living in my villa was. To my surprise, a young girl jogged over with a sweet smile and a bright voice. "Auntie!" The change in James Thompson's expression was quite interesting. He didn't expect that his precious girlfriend was actually the daughter my older brother brought back in the fight for the family fortune. I nodded to Sophia Anderson and then signaled to the male model nearby. He returned to my side and put his arm around my waist. She was drunk, so I would take her home first. After we got back to the villa and closed the door, the male model suddenly felt a bit uneasy. He asked, "Sister, can I take a taxi back?" It seemed he still wanted to leave, and I really couldn't understand the rules. "Is this your first time as a male model? What's your name?" "I'm a newly hired waiter, and my name is Chris Brooks." "Do male models have nicknames now?" He was very close to me, his eyes flickering as if he wanted to break the subtle atmosphere, so he began to change the subject. "Did you really break up with James Thompson?" I raised my eyebrows and gently stroked his hair. "Why are you so concerned about him? He is truly a legendary figure in our club. As a colleague, it's only natural for him to know James Thompson. This legend is something I've crafted myself. From a young man who dropped out of college, he has transformed into a polished elite returning from abroad. I've invested quite a bit of money into this." James Thompson was full of passion. He wanted to seize the opportunity to rise and advance, and his determination inspired me. Because of this, I decided to support him in his studies, enhancing his abilities and helping him achieve a respectable status. In this way, he pulled himself out of the mire and became the most outstanding lotus flower. Perhaps sensing my silence, he cautiously asked me, "Are you angry? Did I say something wrong?" The pleading look in his eyes made my heart flutter. "Chris Brooks, what's wrong? How many women have you slept with?" He suddenly fell silent, opened his mouth but couldn't find the words. His face turned noticeably red as he stammered, I haven't, I'm not a male model." He became so shy that he started to babble. I looked at him again and felt very satisfied. A clean man is truly rare. While he was lost in thought, I took hold of his tie and pulled him into the shower. I told him to wash up first, and then come upstairs to find me. He was understanding and full of energy, and all the worries in my heart began to fade away. In a haze of consciousness, he hugged me from behind, his tone gentle. "Are you still sad?" I nodded. I was indeed feeling down. Even when raising a dog, getting bitten would certainly make one feel hurt. But reason told me that feeling sad over a backstabber would only lead to further emotional harm. In the midst of such joy, I could easily put those worries aside. So I turned around and tightly hugged Chris Brooks's neck. "Can I say the sorrowful words again?" After a night of confusion, I discovered that James Thompson had called me more than a dozen times, from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. My phone's linked smart door lock alerted me that a stranger was lingering at the door. I opened the surveillance footage and saw that between 3:30 a.m. and 4 a.m., it was James Thompson standing at the villa's entrance. Not only that, but he also sent several messages. "Are you with him now? Lily Anderson? Can you reply to me? Let's have a chat. You're really impressive. How many more secrets are you keeping from me?" The brief words revealed a hint of vulnerability. I have indeed concealed a lot of information, such as the fact that I'm the head of one of the top 5 companies in terms of market value, holding the economic power of the Anderson family. I am wealthy, but it's not the kind of situation he might be imagining. During the days when the company went bankrupt, I disappeared, not to escape reality, but to attend to my father's funeral. At that time, Sophia Anderson was brought back by my older brother, taking a larger share of the inheritance due to her status as a grandchild. I just wanted to have a serious relationship. I hoped to give him what he desired, to help him gradually improve, so that on the day I was honest with him, he could stand confidently by my side. I didn't want him to only think about my money and be someone dependent. Unfortunately, I misjudged his character. I had no intention of replying to James Thompson's message, so I set him to do not disturb and opened the chat window with my lovely niece, Sophia Anderson. She had sent just one message, asking if I would like to come over for dinner tonight since it was rare for my second aunt to be home. At that moment, Chris Brooks knocked on the door and walked in, carrying a bowl of white porridge. Ever since I moved in with James Thompson, I had rarely returned to this villa and had even let the housekeeper go. It was clear that he had made this bowl of porridge. After some intimate moments together, his attitude towards me became much gentler than it was yesterday. "Are you hungry? You should eat something light after a hangover." I took the bowl of porridge, tasted a spoonful, and realized it wasn't cooked properly. He was taken aback for a moment, set the bowl aside, and then picked up a cup of water. With a hint of guilt in his voice, he said, "I'm sorry. This is my first time making it. I thought it would be easy. I'll learn to do better next time." It seemed that he felt sad because he couldn't make me rice porridge. He looked quite pitiful, and I wasn't angry in the first place, but at that moment, I couldn't help but feel a surge of affection for him. How could I have lingered so long over someone like James Thompson? Such a young man, with a blushing face and pale lips, clean and adorable. I should have met him sooner. The little bunny across from me blushed at the sound of his stomach growling. Last night was tough. I couldn't help but laugh as I sent a message to Sophia Anderson. "It's all behind us now." When Chris Brooks learned that I was going to introduce him to my family, he tentatively brought up the idea of returning to the shop. In front of him, I called the manager and booked a week's time for him. The manager's reaction was quite interesting. "Is Chris doing it voluntarily?" I switched on the speaker, and Chris Brooks said in front of me, "Yes, manager, please approve my leave. Freelancing is great, as long as the salary is in place. If I don't feel like coming in, I don't have to." Sophia Anderson remained enthusiastic towards me, even though this was only our third meeting. However, everyone understands that the real power holder of the Anderson family group is me, and her enthusiasm towards me is only natural. While she was chatting with me and holding my hand, I noticed her glance shifted slightly towards Chris Brooks, who was beside me, and she winked at me. "Who is this handsome guy?" Chris Brooks turned to look at me as well, seemingly unsure of how to introduce himself appropriately. After all, he essentially is a male model from a nightclub. "My boyfriend." As soon as the words left my mouth, the air around us suddenly became silent, and there were some noises coming from the kitchen. The clever male model would not expose the sponsor at this moment. I turned to look in the direction of the kitchen, where a figure was obscured from view. Who was inside? Sophia Anderson also glanced over, smiled slightly, and then said, "My boyfriend." I was not surprised by her response, just like when I saw James Thompson with Sophia Anderson. She seemed to know that I was interested in this, so she led me to the living room, where she began to tell me the love story between her and her boyfriend, which sounded somewhat different from what I knew. In Sophia Anderson's story, James Thompson was her neighbor in the same building, and they grew up together. James Thompson was 5 years older than her and more capable. If I were asked to drop out of school to start a business, I definitely wouldn't have the courage to do so, but James was full of enthusiasm. After dropping out to start a business, James Thompson became a benefactor to Sophia Anderson, who came from a poor family. However, there was a twist. The money he gave Sophia was actually charged to my card. I had asked him how that money was spent, and he accused me of being overly suspicious. In the end, he managed to appease me with the tattoo on his lower back. That tattoo made me truly believe that he wanted to have a serious relationship with me. I once thought that this tattoo represented Lily Anderson and James Thompson. Now, it seems that it could actually represent Sophia Anderson and James Thompson. They were both very kind to me, even though I knew he liked me. He never used his funding to ask me to do anything. Later, he went back to school and became the CEO of a company. Although that company eventually went bankrupt, I still admire him greatly. Such a boyfriend, who not only has an education and abilities but also has great ambitions, is truly lucky to have encountered at the very beginning. She excitedly praises her outstanding boyfriend. However, silence grows between us for a simple reason. We both know the true nature of James Thompson. The qualities she admires in those men are all things I painstakingly developed. It really feels unpleasant to put in so much effort for someone else, and even Chris Brooks notices my downcast mood. He wraps his arm around my waist in an attempt to comfort me. Sophia Anderson continued speaking. "Aunt, although I've just returned to the Anderson family, James Thompson's background is indeed not as good as ours. However, love is the most important thing. Will you bless us?" Her eyes reflected hope, as if she genuinely wanted the elders' support for this somewhat inappropriate relationship. But Sophia Anderson was not such a simple girl. She wasn't found because my indifferent older brother took the initiative to look for his illegitimate daughter. She did everything she could to earn the trust of my brother's assistant and then arranged a paternity test with him. I leaned back slightly to the left, resting against Chris Brooks' chest, and with a faint smile, I said, "There's no share of inheritance for a son-in-law." Sophia Anderson seemed a bit taken aback by my words, but she quickly regained her smile. "My second aunt is just joking. I'm already very lucky to be found. I never intended to fight for the inheritance." I called out to the kitchen, "Baby, your second aunt is here. Come out and say hi." James Thompson obediently greeted my second aunt in front of Sophia Anderson, and my feelings were beyond words. At that moment, his expression was wary and cautious, completely different from the arrogant demeanor he had last night. It seemed he was worried I might reveal his true self in front of his girlfriend. The moment I opened my mouth, the plea in James Thompson's eyes reached its peak. I didn't want to call him my second uncle. I would address that later after he integrated into the family. James Thompson visibly sighed in relief. After all, the tension between us had escalated to a point of no return. Furthermore, he genuinely liked Sophia Anderson, making it hard for him to accept the consequences of my revelation. I took Chris Brooks' hand and walked towards the restaurant. I urged the aunt, as I had been hungry for a long time. Sophia Anderson responded and headed to the kitchen. James Thompson sat down beside me in the living room. After confirming that Sophia Anderson was still in the kitchen, he lowered his voice and asked me, "Why did you lie to me? Were you with him last night?" "I didn't lie to him. I have 10 billion. Saying I have 1 billion isn't wrong, right? Chris Brooks is speaking on my behalf. It's no big deal for you, is it?" Seeing that I didn't respond, he ignored Chris Brooks beside me and began to speak honestly with me. "Lily, I was wrong to you before, but Sophia is innocent. She knows nothing about it. She is just a simple girl, and she is your own niece. Can you not let me affect the harmony of the family?" His tone was somewhat pleading, reminiscent of the way he spoke the first time we met. But this time, he was not doing it for himself. He was trying to protect the girl he cared about. I felt a sharp pain in my heart, and the vague sadness was overshadowed by repressed anger. Some things, no matter how beautifully wrapped, cannot change their essence. "Do you understand? I wonder if my niece would choose to leave you after learning about your true situation. I've been with him for 3 years, and I'm very clear about how to irritate him. It's quite easy to unsettle his emotions. Men are like that, they tend to get agitated when faced with denial. Stop acting like a victor, Lily Anderson. Sophia believes me. Even if you bring up my relationship with you to her, she won't blame me. Our love is completely different from a transaction. If you have anything to discuss, feel free to talk to me, but do not hurt her." I inadvertently saw Sophia Anderson serving dishes alongside my aunt and held back my negative thoughts. "However, I will have to let this affect you a bit. I do not intend to repay your harm with goodwill, but this is not the right time for revenge." As Sophia Anderson came out serving dishes with my aunt, James Thompson frowned and said, "Darling, these things can be done by others. What if you accidentally burn yourself?" I noticed that the aunt had a slightly dissatisfied expression, and I felt like rolling my eyes. "Servants? It's often former ordinary people who exploit the average." James Thompson, unaware of any superiority he might have, smiled at Sophia Anderson and said, "Your boyfriend is really interesting." Sophia Anderson sensed that something was off. After thanking the aunt, she ignored James Thompson and awkwardly changed the subject. "Auntie, my dad can't return home. Could you please attend my family recognition banquet?" She was quite anxious, knowing that the sooner she joined the group, the sooner she could showcase her abilities. However, the funeral had just concluded, and it wouldn't be appropriate to hold a banquet for such a matter right now. "Do you think this can be arranged?" Sophia Anderson seemed to understand what I was trying to express. She exchanged a sweet smile with James Thompson, looking quite affectionate. "I asked my dad and the master, and they said that after the first 7 days of mourning, it's a good time for the grandchildren to get engaged. This banquet can be an opportunity to announce the engagement, and I can also meet some people." However, this has to be done with the elders present. My second aunt seemed like she wanted to say something but hesitated to look at me. All right, I will participate. My dad has always been easygoing since his youth, and even at 50, he is still striving to find his own joy. This has resulted in an age gap of 22 years between my older brother and me. As the elder sibling, I am only 6 years older than Sophia Anderson. After finishing a bland meal, and once my hunger had subsided, I took Chris Brooks into the city. While in the passenger seat, I sent Sophia Anderson a photo of male model James Thompson before putting my phone on silent. He was very well behaved, letting me play around with him in the car, although a slight sheen of sweat on his face revealed his discomfort. He pulled over to the side of the road and said, somewhat breathlessly, "Yeah, I can't drive like this." With a smile, I released my hold on him, and the car started moving again. "Chris Brooks, do you want to join me?" After I finished my call with the club manager, he quickly sent me his personal information. It turns out he was really just a waiter, responsible for serving drinks, not the kind of male model I had imagined. This gave me a particular sense of accomplishment. Although I felt he should have had better opportunities given his looks, I still asked him a question afterward to find some balance in my heart. He paused for a moment and asked me in return, "Do you feel the same way about other male models? It seems that young people really like to be seen as unique." I said, "Of course not, only you are worth it." I wasn't lying. James Thompson was the one who actively asked to be with me in the first place. He fell silent for a long time, and I thought he still couldn't let go of his pride. Then, I heard him say softly, "All right." My mood immediately brightened. "Let's go to a mall, and I'll buy you a watch." Sophia Anderson did not reply to the photo of the male model I sent her. It seemed intentional. Instead, she sent me the location and time of the party. I felt a bit dissatisfied, but I still went to Sophia Anderson's party with Chris Brooks. He looked quite good and had a great demeanor. After my styling, he truly resembled a gentleman from a prominent family. I enjoy simulation games, which is one of the reasons why I initially wanted to enhance James Thompson's career. Since my main account is no longer usable, I decided to level up a new account. After confirming James Thompson's intentions, I invested a substantial amount of money in the club to buy out his contract. During this time, I conducted a thorough understanding of Chris Brooks. He originally had an excellent academic background and had even won national awards, with a bright future ahead of him. Due to his family's misfortunes and to help them pay off their debts, he chose to work as a server in a nightclub, where the returns were quicker. When I asked him about the reasons for his family's bankruptcy, he didn't answer. That was fine. I didn't press him further out of consideration. Everyone has secrets they'd rather not talk about. I just hope this new trumpet won't disappoint me like the last one did. Most of the guests have arrived, and Sophia Anderson stepped up to the stage to share her thoughts. At that moment, James Thompson walked up to me, tugging at the corner of his mouth and referring to me as second aunt. It was evident that he had dressed up for the occasion, even polishing his shoes until they shone. "I know about the little schemes you've been plotting behind my back. I've already explained everything to Sophia, and she completely understands the sacrifices I've made for her. She loves me deeply and cannot live without me. Sophia and I are about to get engaged. What are your plans now?" He stepped closer, and Chris Brooks moved forward, pulling me behind him to protect me. "Keep your distance," he said. James Thompson chuckled at the scene. "Your dog is really sensitive. The head of the Anderson family is Sophia's father, and from now on, the decisions for the Anderson family will be made by Sophia. I can pretend that nothing has ever happened in the past, and I hope you can understand that." He struts around like a proud peacock, trying to showcase the fruits of his love. Sophia Anderson saw what I sent her, but later she was coaxed away by James Thompson. It seems that years of emotions are hard to forget. In any case, I still don't understand where he draws his confidence from. Did Sophia Anderson not tell her true love that I am the actual controller of the Anderson family? At that moment, Sophia Anderson seemed to sense the atmosphere around her and shifted the topic towards me, inviting me to say a few words on stage. I could feel everyone's gaze on me and only said to James Thompson, "Wishing you both a lasting happiness." I'm good at energizing the crowd, and I easily made Sophia Anderson's event lively. The shareholders responded with friendly laughter, expressing their determination to work hard. At that moment, I continued, "There's one more good piece of news. Let my lovely niece announce it personally." I took 2 steps back and gestured for Sophia Anderson to take over. However, she merely spoke into the microphone, wishing everyone a good time, and then pulled me toward the lounge. I understood that she must want to talk about James Thompson. To my surprise, as soon as the door closed, her first words immediately brought up this topic. I know about your previous affairs. If you give me a 2% stake, I will hand over James Thompson to you. Sophia Anderson wants to discuss a deal with me. I've known about your relationship with James Thompson for a long time, my dear aunt. I've been aware of it since he started as a model until your breakup. You were in a free relationship, and I was a willing participant. I found it a bit hard to understand what she meant, but at least I grasped one thing. I originally thought that you two were in true love. Sophia Anderson understood what I meant and started to share her story with me. In fact, it was all for money. Before being found by the Anderson family, she and James Thompson had grown up in the same building. At that time, James Thompson had nothing to eat, so I kindly offered him a meal. As a result, he started taking half of my food every time. However, I didn't dare to argue with him. I was afraid he would get angry. This situation continued for 2 years. He even told others that I was very kind and that it was my choice to help him. Little did I realize that the pure intention I had in helping him was, in fact, something he was taking away from me. The girl he took away as his white moonlight was frail and weak, while he thrived on the help of others. If it weren't for the money he eventually had to support me, I might have never had any contact with him again. Second aunt, it's easy for girls with no money to go astray. I believe you understand this. She looked me in the eye when she said this, as if seeking my agreement. Sophia Anderson's adoptive parents passed away during her college entrance exam year, leaving her without financial support. Her words seemed a bit indirect, but I could sense an underlying discomfort. Selling to one person is definitely better than selling to several. She was just out to make money. I suddenly found it somewhat amusing. James Thompson is with me for the money as well. The girl he likes the most is with him mainly for the money. A heartless person will eventually be discarded. So why continue to cling on after being rejected? Logically, if it was just for financial reasons, the first thing she should do after returning to the Anderson family is to sever ties with this benefactor. Could it be that she has something on him? It's because of you, my second aunt. This world is truly small. When I found out that you are a supporter of James Thompson, I decided to keep him close to me. Her eyes, just like her name, are beautiful, and at this moment, they are looking at me with an obvious admiration. I want to make you happy. If you are happy, I will be happy too, right? I finally clarified my thoughts and asked her back, so you want to make a deal with me involving James Thompson? If James Thompson knew that what he believed to be true love was being used as a bargaining chip, I wonder how he would feel. He had just positioned himself as the next head of the Anderson family. Yet, James Thompson is still completely unaware of the situation. Are you looking to reconcile with him, or do you want to ruin his reputation? I can cooperate with you on either, my dear aunt. The girl's voice was clear and sweet, but the meaning behind her words was unsettling. I just wanted to live peacefully within the Anderson family and not suffer any more grievances. She had endured James Thompson for several years out of some interests, so it was only natural for her to choose to distance herself from him for a smoother future. I remained silent for a moment. Just as I was about to respond, a sudden commotion broke out in the banquet hall. As soon as I opened the door, I saw James Thompson and Chris Brooks fighting. I quickly walked over and saw that they had already been separated. At first, I was worried that Chris Brooks would suffer because he was being too courteous, but to my surprise, upon closer inspection, it was James Thompson who was injured, while Chris Brooks was unscathed, just panting heavily. James Thompson was threatening me, saying, "How dare you hit me? Have you forgotten that this is the territory of the Anderson family? I am Sophia Anderson's fiancé." I signaled to the security guards to let them go and asked Chris Brooks why he had acted. Realizing he was in trouble, he spoke in a low voice. After being pulled away by Sophia Anderson, the two of them exchanged glances, and James Thompson provocatively said, "I know who you are. You're the son of the head of the Brooks family food factory, right? I warn you, I can easily make things difficult for you, so next time you see me, mind your attitude." Chris Brooks was boiling with anger as he unleashed his fury. Guests claimed they were locked in a fierce struggle, but in reality, it was just Chris Brooks putting pressure on James Thompson. I understood the situation clearly. The reason Chris Brooks's family was in trouble was that James Thompson had driven his company to bankruptcy. The two had established a business relationship, but when one party filed for bankruptcy, the other suffered significant losses as a result. Because of this unexpected turn of events, Chris Brooks's factory faced cash flow issues, ultimately leading to its closure and considerable debts for unpaid goods. This also led him to give up on further studies and instead work as a waiter. I rubbed my temples and sighed, pointing at James Thompson to signal the security to escort him out, explaining that the Anderson family could not accommodate him. Sophia Anderson quietly hid behind the crowd, having no intention of standing up for James Thompson. Meanwhile, James Thompson was in shock. As he was being pushed out, he loudly yelled that he was also a member of the Anderson family, questioning why he was being expelled, which made the situation very awkward. After it was over, I took Chris Brooks home, and we didn't say a word the entire way. It wasn't until he closed the door that he tentatively tugged at my sleeve, and I couldn't hold back my frustration any longer. I'm just your tool for getting back at James Thompson, aren't I? My feelings for Chris Brooks weren't very deep yet, but I absolutely disliked being used as an unconsciously manipulated tool. However, under my gaze, he shook his head and called me by the name I had 10 years ago. No, that's not it, Sister Yang. Like Sophia Anderson, I was once an illegitimate child. I grew up in an orphanage, and when I first stood up against the bullying of the Child King, I gained the support of another group of kids. Among them was a boy named Chris. I once saved his life by holding onto his arm tightly. Since then, he has stayed by my side. Until the year I turned 15, when I won a gold medal in a competition, I was taken away by my grandfather's people. It was then that I realized I was the result of a one-night encounter between my father and someone else. My grandfather often said that his children and grandchildren were all useless, but he chose to support me wholeheartedly. He truly did, and I grew rapidly, becoming the new heir. I was no longer Yang, but Lily Anderson, who had grown up abroad. Before my grandfather passed away, I successfully took control of the Anderson family group, ensuring that the voice and authority remained with the Anderson family. I admire the spirit of striving for progress whenever there is an opportunity, as I have experienced it myself. That's why I always have a soft spot for James Thompson. My thoughts are fleeting, and I allow Chris Brooks to tentatively hold my hand. Are you Chris? Yes, Chris Brooks is indeed Chris. He was adopted, and when his adoptive parents' factory unfortunately went bankrupt, he took on the job of a waiter to earn money to pay off debts. This is how we met. It seems that fate is a circle. I didn't intend to take revenge on James Thompson. After all, business always has its ups and downs. However, his provocative behavior annoyed me. He quickly tried to explain, but I gently pressed my finger to his lips. I said, "You did well. I taught you before to bravely fight back when you're being bullied." Finally, a smile appeared in his eyes, even though his words were a bit unclear. I didn't provoke you. Following his statement, I asked, "If you don't want to use me, then why do you want to sleep with me?" After I finished asking, I realized that he became a waiter to make money. He had crescent-shaped eyes and a smile at the corner of his lips. My life was saved by Sister Yang, and I clearly remembered what she had said. This title took me by surprise. I turned my head and tried to calm my chaotic heartbeat. My feelings were complicated. Actually, I would prefer it if he was just trying to use me or deceive me. With such genuine feelings involved, I worry that the amount of money I offer isn't enough. I didn't mind helping Sophia Anderson, as we have a lot in common. However, I didn't expect James Thompson to take action even before I did. During the quarterly meeting of the Anderson family, he disregarded the staff's objections, stepped onto the stage, and pointed at me, saying, "Lily Anderson, do you really care? Sophia is also your niece. How can you treat her this way? You old shareholders, please weigh in on this matter. How can Sophia Anderson, the direct granddaughter of the Anderson family group, not receive any shares? Lily Anderson, aren't you afraid of what others might say?" However, before everyone noticed me, Sophia Anderson hurried over. "Don't speak to your second aunt like that. She must have her reasons." Her eyes were red, looking very aggrieved, but she said nothing. At that moment, those who were blaming her began to get anxious and indignantly accused, "Why are you treating Sophia this way? She's so kind, and I absolutely won't allow it. When Sophia's dad comes back, I want to see how you explain this." In their eagerness to stick up for her, did they even realize how his girlfriend was treating him behind his back? What gives him the confidence to act this way? I'm a bit curious about his sources of strength. "Sophia, come here. Don't embarrass yourself by following this immature gentleman. James Thompson appeared ready to argue with me, but when he saw Sophia Anderson obediently stepping down from the stage, he looked surprised. He clearly stepped forward for Sophia Anderson, yet she felt embarrassed to stand beside him. I had no intention of letting him off the hook. After the staff escorted him off the stage, I walked up to the front. Now, let me formally introduce Sophia Anderson, my niece, who will be joining the board of shareholders from now on. Sophia Anderson smiled with her eyes sparkling, waving at the nearby shareholders. I glanced at James Thompson, whose face was showing disbelief as he occasionally looked back and forth between me and Sophia Anderson. It was clear that he was thinking, "Are you kidding me?" I just smiled slightly at him. This is only the beginning. The media friends are all here, and I would like to clarify the reasons behind the bankruptcy of Shinyu Company. Mr. James Thompson embezzled $2 million in public funds, which led to a breakdown in the company's financial chain and caused a series of problems with the projects. By the time this issue was discovered, it was already too late. It was not due to any inaction on the part of the Anderson family group. We will expedite the payment of the wages owed to the employees under the name of the Anderson family group. At the same time, I will file a lawsuit against Mr. James Thompson. At this moment, James Thompson's face visibly paled. He probably didn't expect that I would discover the money he secretly misappropriated during the company's gradual decline. Although the amount is not large, using company funds is already a violation of the law. Unless he can make up for this shortfall and compensate for the losses, it will be difficult to mitigate his responsibility. However, from what I understand, the money that James Thompson had has long been taken by Sophia Anderson. That girl's cheerful voice still echoes in my ears. Being with him is nothing but suffering. If he doesn't give her more, wouldn't that be letting himself down? The composed and calm James Thompson in front of me completely transforms into a love-struck fool when facing Sophia Anderson, completely under her control. I jokingly asked Sophia Anderson, "What is your relationship with him? He seems to care about you a lot." Sophia Anderson simply smiled back, indicating that they were not very close and were just acquaintances who had met a few times. After the meeting concluded, James Thompson immediately approached Sophia Anderson. Even though I was present, he loudly asked her, "What does that mean when you said that? And why did you lie to me?" He was fighting for love, yet he found that love was pushing him toward his enemies. He was so angry that he almost forgot his own mistakes and wanted to confront his partner first. Sophia Anderson glanced at me, and I raised my eyebrows to signal her to begin. Then, I said coldly, "I don't need to hide the truth any longer, James Thompson. The only reason I was with you was for the money. I never really liked you. You don't actually think that money can buy true love, do you? What we had was merely a transaction, and now it's come to an end." This statement sounded very familiar. It seemed like I had heard it before. "James Thompson, you've been hurt by the same thing. How does it feel?" Ignoring James Thompson's reaction, she walked over to me and linked her arm with mine. "Besides, how could you possibly deserve me?" I patted her hand in agreement. Prior to this, Sophia Anderson and I had already come to a mutual understanding. I can help her establish herself in the Anderson family, and after she confirmed that I was not interested in James Thompson, she willingly wanted to take revenge on him for me. What's done to me should be returned to him in kind. The harm that James Thompson caused me should be repaid to him by Sophia Anderson in the same measure. "I don't believe that, Sophia. After all the time we've been together, you said that." However, Sophia Anderson coldly interrupted him, saying, "You said those words to my second aunt as well, didn't you? You can deceive others with false emotions. Why can't you accept that you are being deceived as well?" James Thompson was taken aback, seemingly deeply affected, and could only murmur in disbelief. Just as I was about to call security to escort him out, I suddenly saw him charge at me, his eyes filled with rage. "Lily Anderson, it's all your fault." James Thompson's fist came swinging towards me, and I was caught off guard, unable to dodge in time. I could only step back, and as the wind brushed past my face, I was pulled into a warm embrace. Looking up, I saw James Thompson's fist being caught by another hand, and Chris Brooks's voice came from above my head. "You really have a bad memory. He looks so handsome." Although I knew it wasn't the time to be starstruck, I couldn't help but be drawn to his strong jawline and confident demeanor. Chris Brooks let go of me and stepped in front of me, blocking my way. He seemed not to be done yet and was ready to make another move. This time, his posture as he threw a punch felt completely different from the last time when he was pulled apart. Chris Brooks's face was flushed red, showing he was extremely angry, which was a stark contrast to his usual docile demeanor in front of me. It was hard for me to worry about him, as at that moment, it was James Thompson who was still injured. Sophia Anderson did not intervene, and I did not attempt to pull them apart either. It was only the passing employees who heard the commotion and rushed over to break up the fight. After separating the two, I didn't offer much explanation and simply had James Thompson escorted out. He was too scared to call the police, since he was the one who started the altercation and was also the one injured. On the other hand, Chris Brooks was merely acting in self-defense. I gently wiped the beads of sweat off Chris Brooks' forehead with my finger, and his formerly stern expression visibly softened. "How did our dog end up here?" he asked, displaying a row of white teeth and smiling happily. "I came to pick you up from work." On the day James Thompson was supposed to appear in court, he had been attacked with acid. The perplexing face can no longer serve its purpose. The person who threw the acid is the son of an employee managed by James Thompson. His father was a senior employee who lost his job due to the company's unpaid wages and was unable to repay his loans, ultimately choosing to take his own life, hoping that his son could have a better life with the insurance money. However, the insurance does not cover suicide. After losing his father and learning the truth, the son decides to take revenge for him, disregarding the law. James Thompson begged me for mercy, admitting his mistakes and acknowledging that he had done wrong. I didn't pay much attention to this. Sophia Anderson told me that James Thompson had been trying to see her recently and had even threatened her on social media about repaying money. However, Sophia Anderson was clever. She accepted James Thompson's money solely through shopping, making it impossible to retrieve. When James Thompson appeared in court again, he hardly made any defense and directly pleaded guilty. The court sentenced him to 3 years in prison and ordered him to pay 6 million yuan in compensation. The evidence was overwhelming, and no amount of effort on his part could change the outcome. Upon hearing the verdict, a look of relief crossed his face, as if he felt that 3 years of imprisonment was not too severe. "I am not stopping here. I have no intention of showing mercy." Even someone with a narrow mind would not choose to repay kindness with resentment. After reporting the ghostwriting records I found for James Thompson to the university he attended, his degree was revoked. All the work I had given him was taken back. From that point on, he lost his most cherished pride and academic qualifications. Sophia Anderson worked very hard and was placed in the company to study management. Although the pressure was immense, she absorbed knowledge like a sponge and made rapid progress. I believe she will soon be able to showcase her abilities at Anderson Family Company. Indeed, the women of the Anderson family live up to their reputation. Chris Brooks's cooking skills have been continuously improving. Although I hired a great cook as a nanny, he still learns new recipes from her. Finally, one day he prepared a relatively delicious meal, and when he heard my praise, he was so touched that he started to cry. I was surprised by his reaction. He actually brought a bouquet of roses from the kitchen. The flickering candles on the table added a touch of romance to the atmosphere. I was a little worried that he would propose on one knee, but he simply handed me the flowers, took a deep breath, and said, "Lily Anderson, I like you. Will you be with me?" It wasn't a proposal, after all. I let out a deep sigh, and the tension in my heart finally eased. I took the roses from him, but I found that I couldn't pull them away. It felt somewhat amusing to me. What was going on? Chris Brooks suddenly looked into my eyes, and it seemed as though there was a flickering flame within them. I felt that there was something missing between us, perhaps a confession. "You have to promise to be with me before I can give you this bouquet," he explained earnestly, his expression endearing enough that I wanted to tease him a little. So, I frowned, stood up, and prepared to leave. How childish! He was startled by my action, thinking that I was really angry, and quickly grabbed my arm. "I'm sorry, I don't want to talk about it anymore." My hands were gradually feeling warm, and when he opened his eyes again, his gaze was not as clear as before. I moved away from his lips and gently held his face. "Willing,"